Guys, if you've ever wanted to know about rentals, renting a property, about a property manager, this is the episode for you. Today we're going to be talking about property management, investment properties with my good friend and property manager, Celeste Hamilton. Time to roll. Well, hello, Celeste. How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's cold.
Very good, very good.
By
Welcome.
cold, I'm freezing.
No, it's cold outside, right?
It's terrible. Yeah, I'm not made for this.
Snow is here in San Angelo. It's, little flurries out there. It's very cold, but, last week it was like 80, so, So, anyway, welcome to High Level Real Estate.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Today we want to talk about property management, and since you are a wonderful property manager.
Some would say.
Well, I wanted to have you on the show and have you answer some questions and talk about property management. It's something that I don't do as a realtor.
A lot of realtors don't, for good reason.
For good reason. There's a lot of headache to it. And, I run multiple businesses, so it's really hard for me to want to dedicate any more time, something like that. But I know you do quite a bit.
Yes. Like right now, I think I'm managing about 50, but at one time I think I had close to 90 by myself. Yeah, starting out. It is a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And most people who invest in rentals, you don't want to be the one managing it because you need that space, where they can't connect you to the property.
Yeah. You want that distance from the tenant.
Yeah. I'm kind of like the shield. I'm the human shield.
Yeah. You handle all the little stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. So how long have you been doing this?
I was thinking about this morning. I think almost 10 years now, because I've been in real estate 11, I think so 9 or 10 years on the property management, which is wild. When I tell people that, they don't believe me that I've been in it that long, but I started at 21 and I'm about to be 32. I don't even know how old I am.
Dang, okay.
Yeah,
well, you look great for your age.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So what's the hardest part? Or what do you feel is the hardest part about property management?
Hardest part is, I would say, when you're managing it, say you own a house and, like I said, I'm the human shield. So when they contact me to fix something and you don't want to, you're kind of one of those people who are like, well, I'll get around to it type thing. Well, that looks like it's me doing that. That's something very hard to portray to people because you're working for your owner, but you also want this renter to like you because they may buy a house in the future. It's a very fine line. I think that is very hard. And then it is hard dealing with people sometimes, but I mean, you get used to it. I got really tough skin really early on, I would say.
That's in real estate in general.
Things just bounce off me now. I'm like, whatever. I've been called worse. It's fine.
I can see that. Yeah. I can see it. And that's kind of real estate in general. Yeah. I mean, real estate's a tough game, isn't it? I mean, it's
super tough. Just dealing with people. And I went to school for psychology, so it kind of all connects. But 100% the first 3 years were very, very difficult.
I 100% agree.
I'm a people pleaser. And so now I'm just like, it is what it is. It's black and white,
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's probably the hardest part then?
I would say that's the hardest part. And then going on vacation, because that's not a thing.
Yes. Now I am aware of that.
Yeah.
I leave for vacation. And
that's
it's
when you sell a house.
Beep, beep. Yeah. Can you show me this house? I'm like,
I've gotten the most houses under contract while I am in Costa Rica or something. I'm like, and I just got to go out of town. Yeah. So
take your laptop.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did learn. Yep. Take your laptop. Mm-hmm. So what's the best way you find tenants? How do you, when you have somebody who's renting a home and you're, looking to fill that home, what's the best way for you to find tenants?
I found out, honestly, Zillow. I hate to say it, but the rental man, I know, cut that out. I'm just kidding. No.
Anybody got a gun?
No, it's people get on Zillow still. You know what I mean? The for rent signs maybe second, which is kind of crazy. But when we put it on the MLS, it actually does not feed to Zillow anymore. So I have to go, as Zillow rental manager, I have to go input that separately. Okay. Now the MLS feeds to everything else, just not Zillow. Of course.
Just not Zillow, yeah.
So that's separate, but that's where I get the most messages. I would say that and the signs, honestly.
Okay. So that's your best options right now.
Yeah, and also I have a lot of people they know I do property management, so they call people looking for realtors, they send them to me, kind of referrals, which seems to be the good way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I've referred you a few people. So. They're like, hey, do you want to manage my property? I'm like, no, not really.
I know. I can think of one right now.
Yeah. So I'm just like, no, I don't really want to do that. Sorry.
And I think a lot of people don't realize, I love having the option to tell people when they want to contact me to sell their house, especially this last year because selling was not great.
Yeah.
To give them the option to rent their house out. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole nother avenue you can go down and people don't really think about. They think when I need to move, I need to sell. That's not always the case. You might have $1,000 mortgage. I can rent your house for $1,800. That's,
that's money in the bank every month towards your mortgage.
So it's nice to educate people on that, or like have other realtors who say, well, I know somebody who can rent your house out, and like see what that looks like.
Absolutely. I think that's probably, and I've suggested that to a few people.
Yeah. This last year you had to, because I mean.
Nothing was selling.
Yeah.
It was insane. I've never experienced, in the almost 7 years I've been doing this, I've never experienced a market that was so stale.
No, I never have either. It's
stale.
Absolutely crazy.
Like it's crazy. You're just like, what's going on? Why nobody wants to buy?
Yeah. It wasn't the interest rates because they're still not great, and now people are buying. It's
exactly. Yeah, it's not the interest rate, and I think some of it has to do with
election year,
the election year, and some of that. That has something to do with it. But I've had people, oh well, I'm waiting for the 3%. I'm like,
that's not
guys, you're gonna wait for like 20 years, man.
Last year was the first year in my 11 years of doing it that I ever had a house that I listed not sell that we just took off because they were like, well, we'll just wait, I had, I think 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I had a few.
What? Yeah.
I had a few. I was like,
this is crazy. Like, what do you?
But 6.5 right now, probably go to 6, in the near future.
Yeah.
That's not, 2018, what were they, 5.5?
Yeah. And this is like normal. We just got really spoiled to the 3%. Yeah. We had fun during COVID. So
we had this little, 2-year span of.
And that's
really
another thing with the rentals. If you bought during that time and you got that 3%, rate, don't sell, rent that out. Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people don't think they can buy another house if they have a property. That's not the case, because if I show a lease, that actually cancels out that debt to income.
That's correct.
And so you can go buy another house.
You might even, like you said before, if you have $1,000 mortgage and you're renting it for 18.
Yeah. And it's not for everyone. I mean, everyone's situation is different, but it's nice to show people they have options, because when you're in that position, you need to move, and it's very stressful as it is. So to actually see options laid out in front of you is pretty nice. It
is nice. And it's something different, and I also, even though I don't do the property management, I do lay that option out to people because sometimes
because you care about your clients. I mean, the fact that you do that is saying a lot, because a lot of people won't even say that because they want to sell their house.
No, I want what's best for my client. You know what I mean? Like truly, like they are, I feel like as a realtor, if you're not putting your client absolutely number one first, then you're doing them a disservice.
Oh yeah.
Truly a disservice. And you're not giving them all the options. You're not a good realtor.
No.
Period. Whether you're making money off it or not, because your fiduciary duty is to your client.
Yeah.
Regardless of monetary.
I don't sleep at night if my clients aren't happy.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
True. And that's
I don't.
real,
I get it. It gets to me.
I'm
it truly
invested,
gets. Yeah. I'm invested. It gets like to the heart. Like I'm like, God, I gotta sell this house. I feel so bad. I know they didn't want to rent it, but gosh, So it's definitely something that's really weighs on my mind as well.
And that's something too. If somebody sends me a client like that, then whenever they do list, obviously I'm going to bounce them back to you. I'm not going to try to start your client.
Absolutely. So, no, exactly. No, 100%.
Because I appreciate, you know what I mean? It's just, we all try to help each other.
Exactly. No, exactly. And that's what I feel like most realtors are good like that. Not all of them. we all know some realtors. You're like, I'm not.
What are you talking about? Never encountered
that. Yeah, right. But it's crazy that I mean, there are a lot of good realtors though.
There are. We have a lot of realtors. We have a lot of good realtors.
Yes.
And we have a great rental market in Angela. Like we really do. We have a great market here for everything.
Well, and that's what I was actually my next question to you was, so. What would you say is the average rental rate, or I mean, I know it varies.
Like price on house.
Yeah, I know it varies from it but like a 3.2.
If you tell me an address, I could tell you what it would rent for right now. But it's just, I would say average right now is probably $1,750 to $1,800
for a 3.2,
and that's yeah. But rent has gone up.
Sure.
But it always is based on square footage, area. People, you could have the nicest house in an area that's 1,000 square feet. You're not going to get $1,500 for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
4 bedrooms are very desirable. I always tell people, if you have a 4th bedroom and more than 1 bathroom, those are the ways to go as far as rentals go. I have an influx of people asking for 4 bedrooms all the time, and they will pay extra.
Dang.
School districts matter a lot to people.
So similar to buying and selling.
Buying and fridges. Yeah. We don't supply fridges in a lot of the rentals. People don't. But if you do, it rents a lot quicker, I have learned.
Really? Mm-hmm. So appliances
Because we have a lot of military people.
Okay.
And so the reason my people did not want to supply fridges is because that's something that can get stolen or, another thing that they have to take care of. But they will rent quicker with appliances because we have so many military and traveling nurses and students.
Washers and dryers too, or just?
I mean, that would be great.
Yeah, it's a bonus, right?
100%.
Okay,
and you can charge more.
Yeah,
and like furnished rentals right now, I'm telling people, furnish your rentals. Like I know Airbnb is kind of coming into San Angelo, but I would say furnished rentals, 6 to 12 months. Those rent because there's people coming in from all over, like contractors, construction workers, and they want something they don't have to mess with. They just move in. Those are doing really well, and there's not much out there to choose from.
Right. So that's what we, actually, and you're managing it.
Surprise.
we hired you. It was me and my business partner for the Einstein properties. Yeah. And we had a house that we flipped. Mm-hmm. We did a great job.
And I showed that house to one of my buyers, and we walked in and we said, this would make a great Airbnb. We both said that. And she loved it. She loved that house.
It's nice.
It's a great house.
Just
the market
is trash. Mm-hmm. Like I'm like, wow, what is going on here? Now it's starting to pick up now. I'm definitely seeing I'm seeing the movement now. I've got multiple under contract now.
Me too. I think I have more closings this month than I did last year. Like it's very helpful.
It's very helpful. It really is.
We're gonna be okay.
We're gonna be fine. We're gonna do well.
Y'all won't see me at Desiree's. Sorry. Cut that out.
But so yeah, I've noticed that, and we got a pretty good amount for the furnished rental over there. Mm-hmm. So I was really happy with that. I mean, it kind of helps, kind of soften the blow a little bit, at least for a few months, and then hopefully maybe it sells.
And also with the Airbnb, there's so many rules, there's so many stipulations. There's all these things. I had one on the lake. Of Sean's actually, and it was furnished, and you don't have those rules if you just advertise it as a long-term lease, because they lived there for 18 months furnished, but they didn't know it would be that long. You know what I mean? It's more like a month to month, but that's just something that I think is better than like the constant turnover.
Yes. We had one that we had two actually, but it was very short-lived on the second one, but the first one we did for probably 4 or 5 months.
Is it Airbnb?
Yeah, it was a B&B, yeah. And it would stay pretty much consistent over the weekends, but on the weekdays it was just dead.
Yeah.
And we're like...
Because we have the rodeo, we have graduate, we have certain things that's going to be busy, but then you're probably going to want to use... I don't know. It's very tricky. Airbnb is not fully, I think, something that we can grasp onto yet here.
Yeah, it's still kind of wishy-washy a little bit as far as what I noticed. I really... I like the idea of the midterm kind of. I know that's not really a term, but it, the 30-day plus, with furnishings and having all the stuff in there, you get more for it.
Yeah, and nothing crazy. I mean, just bed, you know what I mean? It like an Airbnb, but it's easy for them. There's a lot of, like my brother used to work for a company who they would travel like that and, try to get the hotels that had the furnishings because they're going to be there a few months. So, and the companies pay for it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, you're not chasing someone around.
Have you used Furnish Finders at all, or are you?
What's that?
So Furnish Finders is a website I found, and it's like essentially for kind of midterm rental, but it has to be furnished.
Okay.
They want full furnishings, everything in there, and what they do is they target corporate, corporate stuff. They target military, traveling nurses, doctors, stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty interesting. We didn't use it. We elected to go with you, and of course, we had it rented. We had it rented out like, a week.
Yeah.
So I mean, it worked really well. Let's see here. Best home to rent.
What do you mean, for me or for somebody else?
What rents faster? A 2-1, a 1-1, a 3-2,
a 3-2-4-2.
3-2-4-2.
Something, I hate to say it, newer construction stuff. People will pay more for nicer homes right now.
Yep.
And you do have a lot of people who come in like for Shannon and stuff, and like they get transferred and they don't have time to go buy a house or know where they're going to live, but they're willing to pay more. The ones I probably have under 1,500 sit the longest.
Really?
Yes, they do. And I had a lot of so I call them owners, the ones that own the rental properties that I manage. The last, I would say 5 years, they would take their properties and sell those and transfer them into new construction because there's no maintenance calls. Insurance is less. They rent faster. I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer.
So
it doesn't have to be brand new, but like it all there's less maintenance calls because there's not like all these plumbing leaks and stuff.
Something that's within the 10 years or so. It's probably
the bigger the square footage, the better, even if it's not as updated. I would say.
Really? Okay. That gives me some ideas there. Because this is what we want to do is share this with everybody that's watching the podcast so that if they're looking into getting into rentals, if they're looking into stuff like that, just trying to give them some good information.
That's probably the next question, or one of the questions you're going to ask me. What's the best part? 100% helping people become investors.
Yes.
And helping renters become homeowners. Those are the two things that keep me going.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, but that's also, being a good realtor.
Yeah. But it's a lot of people. So right now I actually have a renter who's rented from me for years, and we're closing on their house next Friday.
Okay.
And they're paying, $2,300 a month in rent. And they're like, we want to try to buy. And I'm like, oh, you should, you definitely should. But there's a lot of things that when people are renting, they're missing out on, like rent reporters. I've talked about that before. People don't understand that you're paying $2,000 a month in rent. We're not reporting that to the credit bureaus, but if you miss a payment, then we are.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it costs, but there's tons of different, I say tons. I know rent reporters. There's probably others you can go through. And I think you pay a monthly fee, maybe $30, $40 or something like that. And they report it for you. All they do is text me, did they pay on time? I say yes or no. And that reports it to them. Their credit boosts a ton because they're paying, everyone's paying a lot in rent.
Yeah.
And so telling people that, when I tell people, they're like, what? We've never heard of that. We didn't know any of that. And I'm like, that's information we should be taught in school, but we're not, And so
there's a lot we're not taught in school. We should be taught.
Nothing. Don't use your brain. No. It's that has helped a lot because people need to build their credit. Normally they are renting because their credit's not great.
Okay. Yeah. And that's absolutely.
Yeah. And so
true.
I want to help people while they're renting to
build
the
their
next
credit.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. That's amazing. That's awesome. And it's, I've told people, similar kind of like, hey, typically if they come to me and they're like, hey, I really want to buy, my credit's not the greatest. A lot of times what I do is I'll send them to a good lender, like a good local lender. I use Kara Bowles a lot. That's my girl, man. I say quite a bit to Kara. And every time I have, within probably 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, because they tell them what they need to do, what they need to pay. Yep. I mean, sometimes you don't need to pay off certain accounts, and then
some of them
and we don't know. Those aren't our questions.
Exactly. When you're asking me that, I'm like,
that's a Kara Hannah question.
I was like, go to these guys; they'll help you. I have, I have limited, information on that. I've 4 to 6 months there. Oh, hey, I'm ready to buy. I'm like, wow, quick.
And they appreciate it because you told them what to do. I mean, some people have great money to put down, but they don't have good credit. And unfortunately, everything here runs on credit. Now, you can have all the money in the world and your credit score is not good. You can't buy a house.
Exactly. Unless you're paying cash.
Yeah. Call us.
I mean, hey, if you're paying cash, call me.
Yep.
I'll take the cash deals all day. So, what is a normal fee charged for a property manager? Like, what do you charge typically for property management?
Well, typically it's supposed to be 10%.
10%, okay.
A lot of my owners have multiple properties, so then I do 8% for them. I honestly, everyone's almost different, and I hate to say that. 10% is, and I've heard what other people charge, and I'm like, I'm way undercharging because that's all I would ever charge. I wouldn't charge a move-in fee, nothing. Wow. And then I've talked to some people, and they were charging a first full month's rent to them for renting it out, and I was like,
and then a percentage?
Yes. Or so I recently started charging a $200 fee for when it's vacant and I rent it out.
Right.
Because I'm showing it, I'm advertising it, all that stuff.
You're doing legwork.
Yeah. And so for a long time, I just, you want to get business and that kind of thing. I built my inventory, but I would say 8 to 10%.
8 to 10%.
10% is pretty normal. Okay. I've had people though that I sold their house to them. and then they had to move and they contacted me to rent it out, and their mortgage literally, I mean, it wouldn't make sense to do 10%. So I just do a flat fee of $100. You know, I work with everyone.
Okay.
Obviously you're not going to rent it out if you're losing money.
Sure. Yeah. You can't, you don't want to do that.
And most of the times in that case, you'd want to sell, but like in their case, they'd lived there a year. So like they were losing either way.
We're literally, I have a deal closing next month, and you know, I have the buyer, luckily, but you know, we're gonna try to negotiate a little bit, and then the seller's agent was like, listen, like,
there's no room.
There's no room. Like he purchased it for literally $10,000 less than what we're
see. That's when I'm like, you got to rent it out.
That we're doing that, you know, and well, he was supposed to be here he's a government employee. He was supposed to be here for, you know, and they moved him after a year. Yeah, and so it really. You know, and and you talk to the agent, and they're like, listen, like, I promise you right now, like, he's bringing money to the table just to close.
That's very unfortunate. And that's another thing I tell my buyers. I'm like, people are scared to buy houses because they're like, well, we don't know if we're going to stay here for 2 years or whatever. I'm like, that's okay. You have options. Yes. Like, there are options. You don't have to. I've had people move after a year. You know what I mean? It's just, but you're not limited to just selling. Like
renting's always a good option. You know what I mean? And granted, there are some people who are like,
oh, no, it's not for them.
I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
No, and some people I would say you don't need to, especially if it was like a house you like put your blood, sweat, and tears into. Don't rent it. Because when you see
never
look at it again.
It gets messed up and you're like, But my dad, you know, he's got 8, 9 rentals. And he's asked me multiple times to rent, and I'm like, I just really don't want to. I really don't want it for my dad. No offense, I love my dad to death, but I also don't want.
Yeah, then it might.
You know, I mean, there's always that possibility of, you know, but you know, he was like, man, you know, it's just like, you know, last year he had 2 houses he had to put in like $10,000 a piece.
Yeah,
because they were torn up.
And because that's another thing, you don't have time to go walk through all of them. Like, you know, it's they get
it was bad. He was upset though. You know, he was like, man, I'm just thinking about getting rid of them now. And I'm like,
my mom's the same way because she's like, it's not worth it when you have to put that much money back into it. But I'm total opposite investor wise. I'm like, well, you make sure they don't, you know, there's just.
Yeah. If you take the proper precautions and you really try to vet the tenants, you know, and so I was leading into my next question. So when you're vetting a tenant, you're wanting to make sure that this tenant is stable, that they've got enough money, that they're not going to tear it up, that they're, what's the best way to?
There's no way to do it for sure.
No?
You know, I've been wrong, but I will say there was a point in time where I got busy. And so I was letting a lot of people do this where they let them go in and see them themselves.
Okay.
You never meet them. I have to meet them. Yeah. I usually can tell. I'm a very good person reader.
Okay.
And so I learned whenever I stopped doing that, that's whenever stuff was
started getting some bad tenants in.
And I mean, we just do a normal application, so credit, background check, residential history, but you never know. I mean,
That's true.
I have all kinds of stuff happen, but I just go off, I guess, honestly, vibes. I hate to say it, but like my gut feeling can, you know.
Hey, you know, as a realtor, you meet enough people, you deal with enough people. I mean, I know I've sold well over 200 homes, and you know, as you meet all these people, you deal with all these people, you get a.
Oh yeah,
you get a feeling.
Yeah. I know when someone's bullshitting me.
You can read the BS a mile long.
I've had people who have bad credit and they weren't really like fully approved, and they're like, "Well, I'll pay 6 months in advance," and I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah, 6 months, how that works.
And that's what's actually crazy on our newer ones. I have had multiple people pay for the entire lease in cash up front. Because they don't have good credit, but they have the money. And those owners love me.
Was there any blood or drugs on those dollar bills?
Not that I know of. I don't look.
Cartel money.
And the owners are like, how did you do that? I'm like, they're willing to. They want to live here. And I'm like, that's $20,000 they could have put to a house. But, you know.
If that's what they want, that's what they want, you know. I mean, that's So, you said you run 50 right now?
Right now, I would, 50.
50? It's quite a bit.
50 and
50. How much of your day do you feel you spend, or let's say, how much of your week do you spend typically dealing with rental issues?
It's so hit or miss because like today I was expecting a lot of calls, busted pipes. No one is letting their water drip. No one insulated their faucets, even though I was texting them too. There's days like the other day I looked and I had 43 calls. I was on my phone and that wasn't just rentals, but I looked and I told somebody, I was like, guess how many calls I was on, my brother, and he was like 13. I was like 14, like all day I'm on my phone and it's hard because you don't know when that day is going to be. And then there's days I don't hear from anyone. So it's very hit or miss. For the most part, it really has gotten better because I have gotten rid of the people who would not fix things and I wouldn't agree with, because I've been in that situation where those people don't like me. They'll never use me as a realtor, even though I can't go replace the roof for them. You know what I mean?
I can't do that.
So when I agree to manage someone's property, I'm like, hey, look, if the AC goes out, if the water heater goes out, you have to fix it.
And in a timely manner.
Yes, especially the AC when it's Texas and it's 110 degrees outside.
Yeah, they can't.
And I've had owners who don't want to. And so then you know what I mean?
And it makes you look bad.
Yeah, and
right?
so I won't do that anymore. I'm more picky with who I will, they got to be on the same terms.
And I think that's just, I mean, I think it's just good business.
And I don't have time. I mean, I don't have time for it. It's not worth it.
Because you're going to be getting calls from these tenants.
Yeah.
And hey, it's 100 degrees and my AC's not working. So you're calling the landlord, the guy that owns the property, and he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Well, you can't.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Exactly.
You're kind of between a rock and a hard place. So I can understand that. That would be, and honestly, I sometimes I do the same thing with buyers and sellers. I'm like, especially when they want the moon and I know I can't give it to them. I'm like, listen, here's a CMA. Like, here's approximately what you should price your home at. Here's where the price should be. And no, I want this much.
Yeah.
How
many times have I done that and then we drop it?
Exactly. Like how many times have I done that? And I pay for the pictures and all the stuff and pay the ads and do all the stuff and the open houses and all these things. And what happens in the end? Yeah, it doesn't sell. It doesn't do any good. And then I lose X amount of money because
I will say, I haven't really told, I don't think anyone this, but there's been times where renters don't have AC or something and the person, they're just, they won't deal with it. Yeah. I've paid for their hotel. And I just do it just to make everyone happy. Cause I said, I'm working for the person who owns the house, but this is a potential client and I want them to be happy because they'll refer more people to rent. It's a very fine line.
I can definitely
Most people hate property managers. Most people have nothing good to say. And I'm sure there's people who don't like me, but I really care about both sides.
See, and I can tell that. That's why, and that is why I do refer people to you because I know you're a good property manager. I know you're a good person here. Yeah. You actually care.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That means more in real estate than anything else. When I first, it's so funny. So I was bartending at the Penny Pub and Grill.
Yeah, I remember. I was there.
Long hair, I was in a band and, that's all I did. And I'll never forget. So Scott Allison was the one who, he would always come in there. Remember when Claire was around before she passed? Claire, his wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So they would always come in all the time. And
sorry, I thought you were talking about your ex-girlfriend.
No.
You're being dramatic.
No.
Sorry.
No, Scott Allison and his girlfriend and or his wife at the time. He was married, and then he was Randy. They used to always hang out with him at Scott Allison. Anyway, so he would come in, and they would always hang out and have some drinks and. Man, I think you'd make a great realtor. I'm like,
yeah,
just get out of here, because I was like, I don't want to, I'm not a salesman. I don't want to sell.
I'm not either.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but then I realized like when I finally did it, I'm like,
you're a matchmaker, not a salesman. Yeah,
exactly. You're more of a matchmaker and a caretaker than you
handholder, really.
A handholder,
because you learn the process that, like I said, we're not taught. So like you teach, my biggest thing is teaching people what they're doing because like, no one knows what they're doing when they buy a house, why we're doing this option period. What's this? Like, and a lot of realtors just, go through it. And I've caught myself doing that, but I'm like, I want to help these people understand what they're doing and why.
Teach them, show them what and even people that,
you're buying a house.
I've bought a house 2 or 3 times, but you've only bought a house 2 or 3 times in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I sell 2 or 3 houses every month.
Yeah. If you ask a lot of buyers, first time buyers, like, do you know exactly like what happened? No. And that's probably the biggest purchase they're going to make of their life most times. And they still don't know how they got there.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't even know how the end result happened. So it is nice to teach them and kind of walk them through. And, I've got a new investor that I'm working with right now, and she is very young, but she's interested in investing. She's already bought a home and renovated it and rented it. And I helped her through the whole process. It was really, I'm sure it was helpful for her, but it was really felt good to me.
Yeah.
Till I was like, man, like I'm helping somebody, secure their future essentially.
Yeah.
It feels good.
I have a lot of people my age or younger than me that have bought, and I'm like, they don't realize how proud I am. I'm like, y'all just did something really big. Like, this is so cool. And sometimes it's not made as big of a deal as it should be, because I'm like, you just bought your first property. And like what you said, the best way to get started in rentals, buy your first house, 3.5 down, live in it for however long, rent it out, go buy your next house. That's kind of the way to get in if you ever want to.
That's exactly right. Honestly, 100%. I think it's the best and the easiest way to get into.
Yeah, that's the main door in.
Yeah, the main door in. Yeah, absolutely.
Without having about 20% down.
Yeah, because if you just go buy one out, it's 20% down. Yeah. Well, and I will say this: they have changed some of the stuff. Yeah. They're doing, I think some banks will now do 10%, but it has to be multifamily.
See, this is crazy. No, and I mean, if you don't have a house under your name, you got to go buy a house.
You got to go buy a house. Yeah.
And that's why I tell people who are married and stuff, they're like, when I put it under both, which I get it, don't put it under both names. Y'all can both go buy a rental property. I just see it totally different. My mind always works that way. And even when I'm showing houses, it probably stresses people out. But I'm thinking, when you rent this out or when you sell it, like, why not to get it? You know what I mean? There's just, my brain's always like way down the road.
And I never thought about it, but I like that. Where, hey, just put it under one person's name. You can go get you a rental property. Yeah. And then
because otherwise it takes out against both of you. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'll ever put, for other reasons, I probably never put a house under me and someone else's name. Like I have my rental property, my brother has his. Like, it's just good not to always have it. And they literally the wife could go buy a rental property because it's not, but if they're both on there, then that debt to incomes,
goes to both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and everyone's different. So it's your personal choice, but
it is. But, I think I definitely like that. I never really even thought of that. That wasn't something I was really thinking
if they can get approved alone, again, it's their choice in the end, because some people just want to be, but I totally get it. Yeah. But if you're married in Texas, it's still yours.
It's still yours anyway. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. If you're married, it doesn't matter whether it's in your name or not. Yeah. So do you do any commercial rental or leases or just residential?
I just did my first commercial lease last year.
Okay.
Totally
Same
different.
Here.
Really? Totally different thing. Oh my gosh. I worked the hardest I've ever worked and made the least I've ever made.
Very different. Like, wow.
It's very different. And I liked it, but it's definitely specialized in residential, I will say. There's a girl in my office that has done. We have 2 right now that are for commercial lease. So no, not really.
Yeah. So I did my first commercial lease last year. It was the bar downtown across from Fat Boss. Yeah. I was the one that leased it. And it was literally just a good friend of mine who owns the building. Yeah. And he's like, hey, I'm going to lock these folks out because they didn't pay and he's way behind. So I'm done. I'm like, okay, So I went down there with him and everything. And it was, interesting. I'd never really done, that was my first commercial lease. So, and I told him, I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to have to do a little research because.
Call Jeff Highmaster. That's what I did. He was the biggest help ever.
Yeah. I ended up calling Ryan.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey man, so.
What am I doing?
I don't know 100% what I'm doing here, but I want to do this and I do want to get into it.
Yeah.
To me, it's very interesting, the commercial aspect, but I'm interested in residential. I'm interested in commercial. I'm interested in farm and ranch. Honestly, I love real estate. Generally speaking, everything to me is
put it
exciting.
on your gravestone.
Like I do. Yeah, put it on my gravestone because I love it. Like I'll do this till I drop.
Farm and ranch is. We do 2 deals a year. We're good.
And you're good. Yeah, you do 2 of them. You're like, I'm done. I'm out.
I know all about ranch.
Yeah, but it's like the commercial aspect is different. Like
and
you
it's
said,
picking up here. It's different, and there's not as many people who mess with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good thing to get in.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm kind of trying to shoot myself a little bit. You know, I'm not giving up on residential because I do love it. I love the feeling of helping people, you know, purchase a new home, sell their home.
Commercial's more corporate, don't you think? Like it's not as, which is kind of nice because you're maybe not as feeling involved.
It's,
you know?
Yeah, I was going to say it's less emotional, less heart, and more facts.
Because no one's like, numbers. You're not living there, raising your family there.
Exactly. It's numbers. It's this, and this. Does this match up? Great. Well, we have a deal? Great. Cool. Here we go.
Yeah,
Let's
it's a lot more set.
It's a lot more set. Yeah. There's not this, you know, heartstrings or anything because it's not a family. It's not, it is literally just a business that you're putting there to make sure that it's, you know, that it's working.
There's just a lot more ins out with the city I ran into that. Yeah.
The numbers, those things
the lease terms
important. The lease terms are a lot different. You know, it's very, you know, very differently structured and, you know, but it was really fun. Yeah. And then of course I started, you know, I've sold now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commercial properties. Over the last like
lunch on Rusty
year and a half or so, 2 years, probably a year and a half.
I don't know if I've ever sold a commercial property.
I've sold like I just got my 5th one under contract, and I've listed 4 now or 3. 4.
See, and that's all different things. You got to list it on different sites. Like it's just commercials.
Commercials very different animal. You know, you've got multiple sites and they don't pick up on MLS, so you have to go.
LoopNet and all this stuff. Yeah.
LoopNet, all this. You have to go.
You're working with people who don't even know what it looks like. They've never lived here. Like they have it listed. Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. When I first got into commercial, I started doing it and I'm like, what's LoopNet?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know that it exists. I'm a realtor. I don't even know what that is.
That? Yeah.
That's for commercial. I'm like, oh, well, fair enough. Learn something new every day, you know. But I have been doing it now for a little bit, and I really do like it.
Yeah,
I really do like the commercial part of it. Again, it's less heartstrings and more
a little less stress.
Yeah, a little less stress here, a little more stress here because you know it's all numbers.
Sure. Yeah,
you know, you're.
But it's kind of cool, and San Angelo, like we're having a lot of stuff move in here, so it's like this is. It's prime time. Yeah, it's cool.
As long as I have another pizza joint.
Wish I owned all those lots that Chick-fil-A's by, you know, like.
You and me both. Yeah. I would love to own those lots. You know,
just buy land, everyone.
Or buy, just
you can't buy a random. Just buy a random lot. One day, someone will make an offer.
Well, you know, it's crazy. I can remember, and this was years ago. This was like, I mean, this is probably.
I was like 10.
90s, yeah. Don't date me that old. This is probably like 90s, maybe early 2000s. Before, you know, on the other side of Sherwood Way, you know, you really just had Walmart and Lowe's.
Oh, yeah.
And all that open space. And I was like, man, you know, somebody should buy that. And Should have bought something.
Should have bought that. Somebody.
Because it really wasn't that expensive back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gone up a lot.
That's another thing is everyone thinks the prices, again, won't go off my rant, but prices are just going to go up. So like things seem expensive now. They did back then.
They did, yeah, exactly.
But then in the future, it's not.
It's going to be even more.
Rent's going to go up. Price, yeah, it's all going to go up.
Yep. I would say on average, since I've been in real estate, what I've seen is an average price increase of almost 10% a year.
Yeah.
Wow. Where are you going to get 10% on your money?
Yeah, exactly.
Hard, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's real estate, I think in San Angelo at least, and I think most places in Texas for sure. I can't speak outside of Texas because I've never really worked outside of Texas. I've only worked inside of Texas. But, you know, as far as San Angelo goes, I've seen just a general increase. I'm a member in the Abilene board as well, and their super EQ stuff. So I buy and sell in Abilene, not as much. I probably only do maybe $1 million.
Well, see, they're about to grow with that whole AI, whatever. Don't even. It's so above my pay grade.
No, the AI deal is going.
They're going to overflow here. I mean,
Dyess Air Force Base is supposed to double in size, you know, I just look at that going, man, you know, I don't want to give up. I pay that whatever fee is every year to keep my super EQ going with smart. Abilene so that I can still.
Good to know. Yeah.
I still buy and sell in Abilene.
Dang, I had somebody like 2 years ago but I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah. So I've been since 22. or
cool.
21.
Yeah, good to know.
21. I've been doing a little bit of business in Abilene. I've only probably listed maybe 4 properties there. I've probably done buyer-wise 5 or 6, most of it being land. I've got one guy that owns a large company there who's got way too much money. And he's like, oh, I saw this land I want. Can you write it up? I'm like,
sure.
Sure. Well, you want to come down here and have lunch? We'll just do it right. And I'm like, whatever you need, Bubba. It's an hour drive. I'll go down there, and it's like 100 acres.
On my way.
I'm like, 150 acres. I'm like, sure, man. Yeah, whatever you want.
Nice.
If you want to keep buying land, I'll keep writing it up. And he was actually the only reason why I
got
my deal over there. So, because him and his wife had moved here. He had this big company in Abilene. It was growing, but it wasn't as big as it is now. He just got a text like a contract for probably about 2 years ago, and it's been just but like when him and his wife had moved here, and I helped him buy a house, nice house, beautiful home, and we became friends. I mean, as you do, a lot of my clients, we become friends.
I have like 3 extra sets of grandparents because they're my clients, and I go visit them, and I absolutely love them. Like that's what keeps me going. Honestly,
it's what
I get emotional.
That's why I love real estate, though. Is that fact? But it was like to the point where I was like, man, is there any way you can help me out? I'm like, what's going on, man? Well, Cammie's over here. She can't do this. I'm tied up over here. Can you run by the house? I know you already know the code. Can you go in and get the placard and go pick up my 2 kids from school? I'm like,
I house sit for someone every time they go to town, which is a lot, who actually did the commercial lease for last year. I've had a client ask me if they were going to Mexico, her and her husband, if I could be the one on their list if something happened to them. Then I would take care of that. I was like, I could find them a house. No, you become,
it's crazy, right? There's so much there. I don't know. There's a lot of heart in there for realtors like us anyway. That really So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting, but commercial stuff is definitely I think on the rise in San Angelo.
Yeah,
a lot
I'll
of new
send my
places.
commercial stuff to you. You can send rentals to me. How about that? Because I don't.
I'm good. I'm good with that. Hey, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that all day because I do enjoy the commercial part of it. Long as it's not a new pizza place coming in. I'm good.
Steer them away.
If it's a new pizza place coming, I'm gonna scare them away. I don't need any competition. So what's your favorite part of property management though? Like, what do you really enjoy about it? Like
kind of like what I said earlier. I really enjoy helping people become homeowners.
Okay.
And I like helping people become investors. Like how that side of it,
which is always amazing. Yeah. You see a new investor, you're like, wow.
And some people they don't really realize how easy it is, or not that it's easy, but I take the hard stuff. So you just get, and everyone's different. Some people want me to call them for every single repair done. Some people are like, don't call me, send me the check, and so
or unless it's over a certain amount.
I make everyone's different. So I do have a personable thing with each person depending on what they want.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. How would you rate San Angelo's rental market currently?
Scale 1 to 10? 8.
Scale of 1 to 10. 8?
8. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. It was slow last year as well.
Right.
It's still good. Things don't sit,
See, and I saw that too with my dad's rentals. I saw it with some of the stuff we were trying to do. But I think 8 out of 10 is still really good.
Maybe 7.5. I might have
a little bit, But do you see it picking up this year in 25?
100%. Yeah.
I do too.
I do and I don't, because I think more people are going to be buying, but then I'm going to have more people buying investment property. It's all intermingled.
It's all intermingled, right? Especially if you're doing the property management.
Because right now, if you go buy a rental property, the payment's not going to make sense for what I can rent it for. It's almost near impossible, honestly, right now to buy a rental property.
It really is.
Really is.
I had
unless you're doing cash or a lockdown.
Exactly. I had had sent a rental. It was down Southland. It was I think there's 4 or 5 units all together. Yeah. And sent it to a friend, and he's like, hey, I was like, hey man, just check this out, and I didn't really even do the numbers. I just I always just send them stuff if I see like multiple, if I see more than 2 doors, in one setting, I'm like, hey, here, just check it out. Let me know what you think. And he gets back and he's, hey, well, what are they asking for rent? I was like, well, let me look it up, pull it up, send it to him. He gets back and he said, man, it won't cash flow. I'm like, I looked it up and I started looking. I was like, wait a minute. Why are the rent so low?
Because, they didn't need it. I have not had anyone buy a new rental property straight out right now that can't put 20% down. I've had people who are moving out of their home and they can rent that one. But no, right now you almost can't buy a rental property.
Yeah, it's like, and that's what we, because I didn't even look at it. I sent them the numbers. Yeah. I'm in my truck.
We have
still.
A package, 1 in South and 3 houses, and they're all occupied and they're not on the market. But Sean would sell them, he has, it won't make sense for people. And so, but it will eventually.
Because it's got a cash flow. And that's what, people like when you're pricing a home to sell, and especially something like what I sent the other day, it was, I think 5 doors. All together, all in one. You probably already know the property I'm looking at.
Probably.
It's a 3-2, a 2-2, a 2-2, a 1-1, and whatever else. But they're asking like $460,000.
They're not gonna.
They're not gonna get
even
it.
though they're rented. Or that's the thing is I have properties right now that a lot of them would sell them and they're rented, but like you can't.
It doesn't make sense. And the thing of it is not that the the overall property is not worth it, but it's an older property. Yeah. So it needs a lot of maintenance. The rent that they're charging currently is,
you can't go up on those people.
You can't go up like that, but it's so low.
Yeah.
Celeste, I mean, seriously, if you saw the rent roll, you would.
I might go move to them.
I honestly, like, the 3-2 is renting at $1,200. $1,200 for a 3-2 in Southland.
It's insane. Yeah. So that's something I want to talk to you about, because this is something I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but a lot of people who are applying for a house will be like, we're willing to even do a 2 or 3 year lease, if they'll come down $50 off the rent, like we'll sign a 3-year lease, whatever. That sounds great, right?
Yeah.
First thing I tell my people, absolutely not. You never sign anything more than a 12-month lease, because your taxes are going to go up. You may not want that person to keep renting. You're stuck for 3 years if you sign that and your taxes go up. They're great. You're
good.
Not great.
You're not great. Yeah,
and
you're losing money.
Yeah, and so that's another thing I like to educate people on, because the first thing they think is, oh, I'll have my house rented for 2-3 years. Great. And I'm like, no, they can sign another lease at the end, and we may not go up on rent, but we have the option to, because you have to make sure your thing is covered. And even for the renter, who knows? You don't ever sign a long lease. You may find somebody, get married, and then you don't want to be stuck in it. You know what I mean?
And then you're stuck.
Don't sign anything over a 12-month on both sides. Yeah. Don't let that become a thing that's going to persuade you, because it's actually bad.
I was going to say, I can definitely see where that would be. A 3-year lease, that's a long time, because so much can happen in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus 3 years.
And I've had a lot of people say, like, can we get a discount if we sign a long lease? Absolutely. Like, no, because that does. And I explain that to them. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And it really, honestly, probably is bad for the renter and the seller.
It's bad for everybody.
For both parties. Yeah.
Unless you're just very comfortable with that price, your house is paid off, whatever. There's exceptions to everything. I'm speaking generally.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. I was talking to Ryan, and he's got a house that he's.
Yeah, that's what he said. I watched that. Yeah, like 12 years.
So he's 12. The same guy's been in it for 12 years. It's paid for.
Yeah.
He's
easy.
like, whatever. Yeah, I don't
But on these other ones that you're investing in, and then the taxes go up, you have to go up at least 50. You know what I mean? And
at least, because taxes are going up. Like, I mean, what was it, 2 years ago?
Oh gosh,
and everybody.
Yeah, my rental, I'm barely clearing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, and I didn't go up on them, but at least I'll have that option too. You have options, and you don't want to lock yourself into something for that long.
Yeah, I definitely, not that I'm anti-commitment. I mean, I can commit.
Sounds like someone that's anti-commitment.
I can't commit, but
you're like turning red.
Yeah,
don't pass out. Lie to someone else, Rusty.
Danny, you called me on it. It's hard.
We're done.
It's hard. We're out of here. I'm gone. I'm going home. But like, it's I think definitely, more than a year commitment on a rental is I could definitely see that. Now, obviously, commercial. We talked about commercial earlier. It's a very different subject because on commercial,
the option to buy and all that.
No, everybody wants 3 to.
It's totally different.
Years.
Yeah,
they want 3 to 5 years at a minimum, like almost a minimum. Yeah, like when I did the one downtown, my first commercial, the seller, the landlord wanted 5 years.
Yeah,
and the renters were like, I'll do 3. And we settled on it, but
Well, see, for renters, that's kind of good because they, it won't go up. Like you're locked in. So
you're locked in. For a commercial, it's different, you know. So it's a different monster. So, all right. So next, I want to know one of your craziest stories for rental. I
have a bunch. If y'all ever see anything on like San Angelo Live or somebody just went crazy, it's one of my renters. I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think. I try not to think of the most recent ones because it might be one, but I'll show you the picture.
Okay.
I got a call one day. I was, fun fact, eating a wrap with bacon in it. And I got a call.
A bacon wrap,
and they said, hey, something happened at our house. And this is a very nice house. I mean, very nice. They said, there's a pig head on our front door, by our front door.
A what?
Pig head. And I was like,
okay.
Come again? Like,
yeah.
Excuse me?
Is this in the country or?
What is happening? And she sent me a picture, which I'll show you. And it's not like from the frozen section.
No.
Yeah. Fresh cut. This was years ago. We never figured out. Like, I was like,
what happened? You don't know.
I was like, I don't want to know. Like, you got somebody, that's.
Did you piss somebody off?
I don't think you should be telling me that. I was like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. I'm like, I can't.
I'm not touching that thing for either. Yeah, no. So, we never figured that out. That was one of the craziest things, a pig head. I don't even know what that means. They didn't know.
Nobody knew anything?
Nobody knew anything. They got a Ring camera after that.
Okay.
They called the cops. They came and cleaned it up. There was, it had been sitting there like 3 days.
I bet the smell
that one was so
awful.
weird. I was like, what is this even? And
that's
then,
gotta be.
Yeah. I had one guy burned the entire rental property down. His dad got mad at his dad. His dad was renting from us, burned the whole thing down.
Burned the house down.
The entire house down. You probably saw it. It was like 3 years ago on San Angelo Live, and it.
Okay, I think I know.
Yeah, the whole entire thing. So. That's just like a few things. I mean, I really have to start writing these down because I forget, and everything becomes. I had a guy tell me he was going to kill me once, and I was literally like, "I'd never be that lucky, bro. Like, please, no." Things all the time. Yeah, so many people fighting and neighbors sending me the footage, and I'm like, "What happened last night?" "Oh, nothing." I'm like, "Well, I see 2 girls punch." It's just like there's always something. But honestly, those things kind of like they make it
regular occurrence.
Yeah, because it's just. I'd say like once a year something crazy happens.
That's not too bad. Once a year, you got to deal with some real crazy stuff.
But now it's not just like it's any house. Like I'm telling you, some of the nicest houses, the craziest things are happening. It's just all over. I mean, it really is. And people call me for things that are like I could not help. You know what I mean? I'm like, call 911.
Call the cops, please. Don't call me.
Please don't call me. But thanks for sharing.
That's I'm gonna have to have you back on, and just have you go over some more crazy stories.
Write, some stuff down. Man, I try to block some out, but.
So what do you do as far as, something I guess, because I don't do, again, residential rentals. Commercials are very different. Deposits wise, like, is there typically a deposit? Is it
always?
Okay.
And that's something I get asked a lot by the person who has the property, because that deposit goes into an escrow account with us. We're set up to where we have an account for the rents that are in and outs, and then an escrow account. So that goes into our account. It is not touched until if the tenant breaks the lease, then that deposit goes to the owner.
Okay.
When they move out, if there's cleaning or repairs, then it gets taken out, and then they get the rest back. And a lot of people make deposits. I do the same as rent or a little bit less than.
Same as rent or a little less?
Yeah, a little less than. But yes, always a deposit. If people say we have to have the deposit in first month's rent before you move in. No exceptions. No prorated. Second month prorated. I mean, that just protects. And some people require first and last month's rent. I
was going to ask you because, when I was young,
which is crazy. That's a lot, deposit. That's a down payment.
That was like when I was first, the first home I ever rented, it was first and last month's rent
Yeah.
And it was I think a pet deposit too, and
which we charge. Yeah.
Whoa. It was a lot.
If the credit's not great, sometimes we'll do that. Our application process kind of tells us what we need to, require. Pets is a whole nother thing. I have a lot of people, no, not a lot. A few people who don't want any pets. That makes it really hard to rent. Everyone has pets. I wouldn't rent a house if I couldn't bring my child,
Yeah.
I mean, she owns a house,
Yeah. She runs the roost.
But I would do limit of 2, unless there's I always ask, everyone's different, but we do a one-time pet fee and it's usually $300 to $500 and that just goes straight to the owner and they don't get it. It's not a deposit. I don't call it a deposit. It's a pet fee.
It's a pet fee. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've had people pay $1,000 per pet to have their pet. Mm-hmm.
Wait, but I mean, like you said, it's like a child. I would. Yeah. I mean,
that owner wanted so badly for there not to be pets. That person's willing to pay it. Everyone's happy.
That's true. I mean, and it's like, but I can understand. I see both sides of it because I also see the owner side where they're like, well, when these guys move out, I'm gonna have to have extra cleaning. I'm gonna have to deodorize. All the stuff, all the things.
Everyone's so different. I've seen kids do a lot worse damage than pets in my experience. Now I don't mess with cats too much, but my dog's better than most humans. So it's just everyone. Again, I have to meet somebody. A lot of times they'll send me pictures of them, and I'm like, okay, it's fine.
It's fine.
But as a property owner, when you have a rental, you get to decide that. I don't decide that for you. I say, what do you want to charge? What are you comfortable with? You get to negotiate the terms with me, and then I go.
You go. Yeah. That makes sense. Let's see here.
What you got?
do you property manage outside of San Angelo? Do you have any properties that you that was something I was
Robert Lee.
How's that market?
I won't get into that story, but no, I will, and I'll go anywhere, but I go put the sign up and stuff. So I'm not going to go super far, but I'm willing to, manage pretty much anything. It's just not within drivable distance.
Yeah, see, I hate to do sales too far outside of San Angelo or Abilene. San Angelo, Abilene's fairly, the markets are similar.
Well, and if I manage a property that's 2 hours away, when am I going to go check to see if they're changing the air filter? Don't let me manage that,
That's true. You're not really,
I have enough, I'll refer it,
Yeah. Because sales are a little different once you sell it's done, I'm doing a deal right now on the coast.
Yeah,
I know nothing, but this is the weird thing. So I get a call, and it's granted, it's one of my great friends, close friend, and I've done tons of real estate business for him personally. And his mother lives on the coast. She's looking to buy a house. It's cash. And she's really smart.
Yeah.
So she already knows all the terms, all the stuff. She's like, here.
This is what I want.
This is what I want you to write in the contract. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
I will pay your percentage. I will pay you 3% of the total. I'm like,
when did you wake up from this dream? Because that's insane. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But she's like, well, you've done such a great job for my son. So of course I just need somebody to write this out because I don't want to, have to go. And I was like, okay, cool. But it still is uncomfortable doing anything.
Oh, I won't. If I don't know the market, I just do, and I've done referrals, and a lot of people don't know that if you're moving from here to Florida, contact us and we can go find an agent and do a referral, and still, because we're technically your agent. If my good friend is going to go buy a house, I can still be. I have some friends moving to Austin. They're probably going to have me do a referral. I'm not going to go because I'm not going to do you a disservice.
God, yeah.
And but I'll still get something from sending it because technically they would be my client. I could go show them anything in Texas. So if I wanted to, I would. But I know my boundaries.
Same here. No, I've had a similar situation where I sold, as a good friend of mine.
Unless it's cash, then we're going to the coast.
But I had a good friend of mine sold his house here, and he wants to go look at houses because he's moving to Dallas. Bro, I will find you a realtor there, but I am not even going to pretend like I know that market, and I'm not going to try. Yeah. Because I already know that's a whole nother.
Why would you use a realtor that doesn't live in the town you're moving? You know what I mean? It's just...
Because they know I don't know the market like they do. No. A local realtor knows that market better than anybody.
Yeah.
Now, granted, this coast thing, it was like, well, I mean.
You don't have to know. Yeah, it's just they know what they want.
They already know what they want. They know exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It was just write it up. All right, cool. I think my last question is, do you find it So I'm trying to figure out how to word this. So on a rental, when you're talking about, because I've seen it both ways where, somebody, they just rent it out and they want the tenants to take care of everything.
Uh-huh.
My thought was, and this is what I had talked to somebody about because I felt like it was reasonable and viable to say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, like I'll rent this house to you for $1,500 a month. It's, I'm going to send somebody, you have to take care of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Or, I'll rent it to you for $1,750.
And we're going to take care of.
But we're going to have somebody take care of the lawn. We're going to have, the air filters changed every 3 months. We're going to have the house maintenance for you. So you're not even responsible for any of that maintenance. Yeah. We will take care of it. You'll have to pay extra. But
which
we're
most
going to
people
take
will.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, do you think that's something that's...
Everyone should do it. If I could get everyone on that board. So I've recently gotten owners to start paying for the air filters because I'm like, at least if they're setting a closet, there's a better chance they still probably won't change it. But
exactly. That's my
There's
thought.
no way I physically can go to each property every month or 3 months, whatever. Some people want. I put in the lease that you have to change it once a month.
Once a month, okay.
How am I supposed to... There's no way.
And you're running 50 properties.
I even thought one time to let them send a picture. And when you go do a walkthrough, you give 24 hours heads up. There's always a fresh filter in there. No, not always, but you know what I mean? There's no way to, so that is the best way to make sure your property is taken care of. And you'd be the best kind of like owner because people like my old house, I physically put that sod in, there's no way I can make them go water. I can't hold their hand and make them water. They didn't,
and it dies. It hurts your property.
And use thousands of dollars. People who include the yard maintenance, the tenant has to be okay with somebody coming often.
Obviously.
Most times they are. Yeah. It's the best way to make sure it's done. It's the only way.
That's okay. So, because that was something for me, I had an investor in there, and we were talking about, what's the best way to protect their investment or what would I recommend? And I'm like, honestly, I felt like if you're, when it comes to like the yard, because so many renters, and I've heard it from so many owners that the renter's not taking care of the yard. They're letting
Why
the yard...
are they going to pay extra water when it's not there?
It's
you know
not
what
theirs.
I mean? And you can't really I've done hundreds of eviction notices. I've done one where I actually had to go do the physical. I moved their stuff out, which was crazy. But that's not bad for 10 years having to actually do it. Yeah. But you can't really evict over that kind of stuff. Like it's in the lease, but it's more so like, are you going to go? It's no one takes. I won't say no one. I've had some great tenants, that take care of like it's their home, but it's not their home. Most people won't take care of it like that.
That's my thought is, like the air filter for the HVAC, because the HVAC's expensive.
And if they don't change the filter, it always freezes up. The first thing I asked them is when you change the filter. And so that's way more money than having to do that, send someone out, than if they just go replace the filter. If they just go,
because, to replace an HVAC is $10,000. Yeah. 8 to 10. Yeah. Like depending on the size. Yeah. It could be even more if it's a bigger home.
Yeah.
So that was something that we had talked about, or I had talked about with one of my clients. I was like, it's if you are going to do, rentals, I would highly recommend,
or at least offer both, and hopefully they go
exactly. Maybe offer.
It's just like an apartment offering covered parking. You pay $50, and most of the time people don't want to mess with the yard. They don't buy a lawnmower, know.
Yeah.
No, it's a great. If I could get everyone to do that, it'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Well, great. Amazing. Well, Celeste, thank you so much for coming on to High Level Real Estate. I've really enjoyed the conversation with you. I've learned a little bit from you. It was really, really, it's a really good experience here talking to you today. Informative. And I hope hopefully you guys, if you're investors or if you're looking to invest, that I hope this was helpful for you.
Yeah, and ask questions. Like that's the thing. Ask questions. Don't be scared because the world is your oyster.
It is, and there's so much good positive cash flow and other things and building, a retirement
and that's
in real estate.
One of the last things I want to say is if you have a house you buy and you rent it out and it's not a short-term thing, it's a long-term thing. They're paying your mortgage every year. Eventually that house is going to be paid off. That check every month, if you still rent it out, is just an extra stream of income. And then when you're tired of it, sell it and that's full proceeds. I mean, what's there to lose besides maybe your house getting torn up?
That is very
or a pig
true.
head on the porch.
Yeah, or a pig head on the porch. You don't want the pig head on the porch. Whatever you do, don't get a pig head on the porch.
Sounds like some cartel stuff.
Yeah, maybe that was the cartel stuff that did, you know.
I don't need to know what.
Was that the cash deal? Was that the
Oh man.
Yeah, Celeste, where can people find you and talk to you about property management? And what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Call or text me. But
Okay.
my social media is all Celeste Hamilton Realtor on Facebook, Instagram. I would say just our website, SeanBox.com for rentals. You
Okay.
can click that and see all of our rentals available. But yeah, I would say call or text me and we can put that in there. But yeah, it's
Very cool. Very cool. I want to give a shout out to Sean Box and Miss Celeste Hamilton. She's been amazing. And also to the Bearded Barista. Guys, man, this is great coffee. I really appreciate it. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to High Level Real Estate. Please like, subscribe, DM me if you have any questions. This is a wonderful episode. Make sure you watch the whole thing. We have so much great information about property management and investment properties. Thank you so much for tuning in.